Welcome to Shatter.
She said she needed time. A break. Space to think about us. I didn't argue. Didn't cry. I just nodded, like the loyal fool she thought I was. That was Thursday. Saturday morning, I opened Tinder out of spite. Not to cheat. Just to confirm what my gut had been screaming for weeks. There she was. New profile. New smile. Same lies. Her bio said, recently single. Looking for something real. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Not because I was shocked, I wasn't. But because in that moment, something in me snapped. Like a thread pulled too long finally tearing loose. She wanted something real? Fine. I'd give her something real. A fake name. A fake face. And real, cold-blooded revenge. I didn't yell. Didn't confront. Instead, I made a profile. From scratch. Picked a face I knew she'd like. Charming, not too polished. A little rugged. Used the same style I had when we first met. Witty. Confident. Just enough vulnerability to feel safe. I even named him Jay. A nod to someone she used to gush about. A character in a show we watched together once. Funny how people tell you everything without realizing it. Within 20 minutes, she matched. Within 30, she messaged. Hey, you seem different. Maybe I am, I replied. I hadn't seen her this excited in months. And the irony? She was flirting with her husband. She didn't recognize me. Of course she didn't. She hadn't really looked at me in over a year. She told Jay about her job, her dreams, how she wanted to travel but felt trapped. Said her marriage was good on paper but empty. That he, her husband, was distant. Emotionally shut down. Crazy, isn't it? Because the man she described was me. After she started pulling away. Not before. She called our love routine. Said she missed feeling wanted. Said she wanted real intimacy. It was like watching her confess to a stranger what she never dared say to me. And the cruelest part? She didn't even feel guilty. She said, I feel like I know you. And I almost laughed. She did know me. She just didn't know it was me she was talking to. I was done being the man who gave without return. Done asking for scraps of affection. Done playing husband to someone who played single online. Now I was just watching the board, moving pieces. Because this was no longer marriage. This was chess. And my next move would leave her breathless. She lay beside me, phone in hand, fingers moving fast, screen glowing soft in the dark. I closed my eyes, breathing slow, pretending to be asleep. I knew what she was doing, who she was talking to. She thought she was being discreet. But I recognized the rhythm, her texting Jay. Texting me. The irony was delicious. The same woman who once rolled her eyes when I tried to talk about my day was now pouring her heart out to a fake man in the same room where her real husband lay inches away. She wrote things like, I feel seen when I talk to you. You're easy to talk to. I don't know why, but I trust you. That trust? I was going to use it against her. The next morning, I watched her make coffee. Same mug. Same ritual. Same empty smile. You sleep okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. Best sleep in a while. She nodded. Didn't press. Because in her mind, we were in limbo. She still had options. Still thought time apart gave her the upper hand. Meanwhile, I was memorizing her habits. Cataloging her phrases. Studying the cracks in her stories. Every night, I became two men. The husband she avoided. And the stranger she craved. She told Jay about our first date. Said it was cute, but safe. How she wished someone had just grabbed her hand and said, let's leave. Right now? Let's just run. So one night, I wrote exactly that. Let's run. Friday, 8 p.m., your call. She answered in seconds. God, I needed that. Let's do it. I told her to meet me at a small cafe downtown. Nothing fancy, just cozy, quiet, intimate. The same place we went on our first date, years ago. Back when I thought she was the best thing that had ever happened to me. She said she'd be there. She even used a heart emoji. Funny, she hadn't sent me one in months. Friday came fast. She got ready like it mattered. Did her makeup in the hallway mirror. Wore the navy blue dress I gave her for her birthday last year. The one she never wore again after that night. She texted Jay at 7:48 p.m. Leaving now. Can't wait to meet you, smiley face. I left 10 minutes before her. Parked across the street. Sat by the window in the cafe, hood up, head down. Just another stranger sipping black coffee. I watched the door. At exactly 8:03, she walked in. She looked radiant. Eager. Nervous. Like she was 17 again, hoping to impress. She scanned the room. Eyes bright. but they never landed on me. I was sitting barely 10 feet away, and she never once saw me. She took a table near the window, kept checking her phone, fidgeted with the napkin, crossed and uncrossed her legs. I watched her order wine, sip it slowly, smile at her reflection in the window, waiting for someone who was already there. Watching. I stayed 15 minutes. Let her marinate in the anticipation. Let her imagine the kind of man Jay must be. Then I stood, walked past her, slow and deliberate. Not fast enough to blur. Not slow enough to be obvious. Our eyes met. She tilted her head slightly, like she almost recognized me. But not quite. Because the man walking by wasn't the man she remembered. He wasn't broken. He wasn't begging. He was done. That night, she messaged Jay. "You stood me up?" I didn't answer. But I read every word. And as I lay in bed alone, her side cold, untouched, I knew. She'd played with fire. Now it was her turn to burn. She told Jay I was cold. Said I stopped caring. Said I hadn't touched her in weeks, like that made her a victim. I read her messages from the same couch where we once watched movies, where she used to lean into me like I was home. Now she used those same memories as ammo, twisting them into sob stories for a stranger. Who wasn't a stranger at all. He doesn't talk to me. He's so distant. Sometimes I think he hates me. I read each line slowly. Let them settle into my chest like cold stones. Not because they hurt, but because I had said those things too once. But she never listened. When I tried to open up, I was needy. When I asked if something was wrong, I was dramatic. When I asked if she still loved me, she sighed like I just interrupted her favorite show. Now she missed connection? Now she wanted real talk? She only wanted it when she could control it. When it came from someone she didn't owe anything to. That's the game, isn't it? To play victim in a story you wrote. To burn the house down and cry about the cold. She made Jay into her escape hatch. A fantasy where she was still desirable. Still mysterious. Still worth chasing. And I played the part perfectly. I told her what she wanted to hear. That she was misunderstood. That she was strong for holding on. That not every man would take her for granted. She sent photos next. Not explicit. Just suggestive. Soft lighting. Slight angles. That calculated accidental exposure women perfect when they want to test boundaries. I saved them. Not for revenge. For evidence. Because the deeper she went into this lie, the tighter the noose became. Meanwhile, I started moving money. Small, quiet withdrawals from joint accounts. Shifting assets. Freezing shared cards. Creating digital distance to match the emotional one she'd carved months ago. She didn't notice. She was too busy living in her romantic delusion. She even talked about moving out. To Jay. Sometimes I imagine what it'd be like waking up next to you. Like really starting over. I nearly laughed. She didn't know Jay didn't exist. That her dream man was just the husband she stopped looking at. With a new mask. She was planning a life with a ghost. And I was the one holding the strings. At home, she walked differently. Lighter. Like someone with a secret. She started humming again. Started leaving earlier for errands. Wearing perfume she hadn't touched in months. She thought I didn't notice. She thought I was still in the fog. But I was watching. Every flicker of guilt in her eyes. Every time her phone flipped face down. Every text she smiled at when she thought I wasn't looking. She had no idea the man on the other end was watching her from across the table. Taking notes. I wasn't just waiting. I was building. Because there's a moment. When a liar steps so far into the illusion, they forget the ground behind them is gone. She was almost there. And I was almost done. She picked Friday night. Of course she did. Said she was going to Rachel's for wine and a girls' movie night. Same Rachel who posted photos of her real Friday night. In another city. I didn't say a word. Didn't ask questions. Just nodded. Have fun. She smiled, not sheepishly, not nervously. Confidently. Like a woman who believed she was getting away with something. That was her mistake. She thought I was still in the dark. But I'd already installed it. The camera. Hidden in a smoke detector in the hallway. Motion triggered. Silent. It caught everything. The moment she stepped out, makeup sharp, heels high, clutching a small bag that wasn't for one night. She didn't look back. She never did. I waited an hour. Then I started moving. First, the digital locks. She thought she had control. That she could leave and come back whenever she wanted. She didn't know I'd changed the access 2 weeks ago. Logged her out of our shared accounts. Forwarded all legal and financial notices to my private inbox. The utilities? Shifted. The lease? Already flagged for separation. By the time she returned, she wouldn't be returning to her home. She'd be walking into silence. She messaged Jay at 9:17 p.m. I'm here. This place is so cute, smiley face. Feels like a fresh start. I didn't reply. Let her sit in the fantasy a little longer. Because the higher they rise in the lie, the harder the drop when reality hits. At 9:52 she sent another. You close? I'm nervous, lol. At 10:05. Everything okay? And finally, hey, you there? She didn't get a response. From him. From me. Instead, she got a push notification. Joint account, closed. Card, declined. Then another. Streaming services, canceled. Insurance, adjusted. The world she thought she owned started slipping, thread by thread. And the man she ran toward? Wasn't real. I slept well that night. Left the window open. Let the cold drift in. Because some endings don't come with shouting or slamming doors. Some endings are silent. Surgical. Final. I didn't text her. Didn't warn. Didn't explain. But I left one message scheduled to send at 7 a.m. When you get back, don't come home. Papers will be delivered Monday. That's all. No greeting. No name. No punctuation. Just a full stop. By the time she saw it, she was already calling my number. 6 missed calls. For texts. What is this? Where are you? You're being crazy. We need to talk. No, we didn't. Because I'd already said everything I needed to. In silence. In strategy. In the systems she never bothered to understand. She planned her escape like it was a movie scene. Hair done. Heels on. Perfume trailing behind her. She didn't know the doors were already locked behind her. And the credits had started to roll. She came back Sunday evening. Hair messy. Mascara faint. Still in the same dress from Friday. I watched it happen. From across the street. Inside a friend's car. Windows up. Engine off. She stepped out of the Uber with a smile that cracked halfway. The porch light didn't turn on. The autolock didn't chirp. She hesitated. Tried her key. Once. Twice. Nothing. She knocked. Lightly at first. Then louder. Then with her fist. I didn't move. I wasn't inside. I hadn't been for over 24 hours. Because that house wasn't ours anymore. It was hers. And it was empty. The ring was on the pillow. Dead center. A silent message she couldn't argue with. She found it eventually. After she climbed in through the side window, the one with the loose latch I always said I'd fix. She walked through the living room like it was unfamiliar. Furniture gone. Closets cleared. Shoes missing. My desk, empty. She found the bedroom last. Stopped in the doorway. The sheets were untouched. The ring caught the moonlight. She stared at it, hands trembling. Then sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. Like someone trying to process the scene of a crime. But there was no mess. No note. No fight. Just absence. She called again. 3 times. Then left a voicemail. This isn't funny. We need to talk. You can't just leave like this. But I could. And I had. Because silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's the final verdict. And this was sentencing. Monday, the papers arrived at her office. Delivered to reception, with her full name printed clean and bold across the envelope. She used to brag about being untouchable at work. Now her hand shook when she picked up the delivery. Because everyone saw. She texted. What the hell are you doing? Don't do this. Please. Let's just talk like adults. Adults? She ghosted her husband for a man who never existed. And now she wanted clarity? I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. But because there was nothing left to clarify. She had made her choices. Built her world on fiction. And now she was standing in the rubble, waiting for someone to save her. But Jay was gone. I was gone. All that remained was the echo of her own lies. That night, I changed the last password. The one to our photo storage, years of memories. I downloaded every picture that had my face. Deleted the shared cloud. Left her with filtered smiles and empty frames. Because she wanted freedom. Wanted space. Wanted something real. And I gave it to her. Just not the way she expected. First came the silence. Then the desperation. It started subtle. Hey, at 11:04 p.m. Then 2 dots. Deleted. Typed again. Backspaced. Then, I don't know what to say, but I miss you. I didn't answer. Next day, a longer message. 3 paragraphs. Mostly apologies. Mostly deflections. I didn't mean for things to go this way. I felt lost. It just happened. It just happened. Like affairs were weather. Like cheating was gravity. I read it. Then closed the app. Let her words die in the inbox where they belonged. She tried another angle. J. Search for the Tinder profile. It was gone. Deleted minutes after she left the cafe. She messaged the app support. I know because her email pinged through our shared account when she forgot to delink. Subject, my match disappeared. Is there a glitch? No. No glitch. Just the collapse of a fantasy built on infidelity. She was chasing ghosts now, trying to reassemble the version of me she only appreciated once I vanished. She tried calling mutual friends. One of them forwarded me the voicemail. I know I messed up. I just need to explain. He was never supposed to matter. It was just distraction. I didn't think I'd lose everything. But she did. Because distraction isn't an excuse. It's an admission. By week 2, the tone shifted. From guilt to bargaining. Maybe we can talk? Just once. No pressure. Just coffee. I ignored that too. Because coffee was for people who still had something to stir. We were just two strangers with shared memories now. Nothing more. She sent one last message that night. I wish I'd met you now. Not back then. Maybe I'd be better at loving you. I stared at it longer than I should have. Not because I believed it, but because it proved she never understood the damage. It wasn't about when she met me. It was about what she did after. I was already gone. I had a new place. A small apartment. No echoes of her. Fresh sheets. Blank walls. Peaceful mornings. I went to the gym again. Read books I never finished. Stopped checking my phone. And when I passed mirrors, I saw a man I hadn't seen in years. Not broken. Not bitter. Just free. She tried to rebuild something that no longer existed. Thinking if she glued the right words together. If she rewound her tone. If she just said sorry the right way. I'd come walking back. But love isn't a light switch. And betrayal doesn't rewind. She burned the bridge. And then stood in the smoke wondering where the path went. A mutual friend told me she was in therapy. That she asked about me often. That she cried in sessions. That she said she learned a lot. Maybe she did. But growth doesn't mean return. Sometimes, growth means knowing you don't deserve a second chance. And sitting with that. Regret doesn't scream. It whispers. Every morning. Every night. In the silence after the phone doesn't ring. In the pause before sleep. When there's no voice beside you. No breath. No warmth. That's what she lived in now. The space between what was. And what would never be again. She still tried for a while. Liking old photos on my socials. The ones where we were smiling. Wearing nostalgia like perfume. Hoping I'd catch the scent and turn around. I didn't. Because some smiles age like milk. Once you know the truth behind them. They curdle. She reached out to my sister. My cousin. Even my old roommate. Left trails. I'm just checking in. Tell him I hope he's doing okay. He deserves better. I know that now. They didn't reply. They didn't have to. Because I'd already said it loudest. By saying nothing. The punishment was never rage. It was distance. Not miles. But meaning. She still had her apartment. A couch. A mirror. But no version of herself to reflect back anymore. She'd stare into that glass. Hoping to see the woman she was before she destroyed what she had. But all she'd see was the version after. A friend of hers, one I never trusted, DM'd me. She's not doing great. Maybe just talk to her once? For closure. Closure? Closure was the ring on the pillow. The lock that didn't turn. The papers on her desk. Closure was watching her watch the door never open again. There was nothing left to say. Nothing she could rewrite. Because betrayal rewrites everything. She started posting again. Filtered breakfasts. Solo sunsets. Quotes about healing. About learning to love yourself. I watched in silence. Not because I missed her, but because I wanted to see how long she could pretend the hole in her life was just ambience. It didn't last. The captions grew shorter. The filters heavier. The stories cryptic. Then gone. She vanished offline for weeks. That's how regret works. It isolates. Turns noise into echoes. Turns mirrors into witnesses. She tried to bury it under yoga mats and wine glasses. But guilt doesn't drown. It waits. Eventually, the messages stopped. The last one came at 2:11 a.m. Short. Barely a whisper. I'm sorry. No name. No punctuation. Just wait. I read it once. Then deleted it. Not out of anger. Out of peace. Because some apologies aren't made for the person you hurt. They're made to quiet the ghost you created. But ghosts don't forgive. They drift. They haunt. They remind. And I wasn't a man she lost. I was the man she erased. Until he erased her back. I didn't move on. I moved out. Of her world. Of the story. Of the identity I'd worn like armor, chipped and dented from years of quiet battles. At first, it felt strange. Freedom always does, when you've lived too long in someone else's narrative. The apartment was small. Clean. No memories hanging on the walls. No shared towels. No toothbrush beside mine. Just me. Alone. And finally, whole. I didn't jump into dating. Didn't drown in distractions. I sat with the silence. Not as a punishment, but as proof. Proof that peace wasn't something I had to earn anymore. It was mine by right and by choice. People asked how I was. I told them, better. They didn't need more. Because the real answer wasn't for conversation. It was for quiet walks. For long showers. For mornings where I made coffee for one and didn't feel like I was missing anything. I stopped wondering where she was. Who she was with. What she was doing. Because it didn't matter. She'd already lost me. Long before I walked out. The day she swiped right while still wearing my ring. That was the goodbye. Everything after was just cleanup. I changed my routines. New gym. New routes to work. New barbershop. Even my scent, a different cologne. Subtle, clean, nothing like the one she used to buy me. I wasn't hiding. I was shedding. Because I didn't want to be recognized by anyone who still remembered me from before. I wasn't that man anymore. And I sure as hell wasn't hers. Sometimes, I'd pass by the cafe. The one she waited in. The one I left without a word. She never knew I was there. And that was the point. That cafe became a symbol of how blind she was. How far I'd already gone, even while sitting right in front of her. She thought she had time. That she could play the game. Then rewrite the rules. But I wasn't a page in her journal. I was the hand that closed it. For good. I didn't just leave her. I erased myself from her version of the past. She'd scroll through her phone. Looking for signs of me. Photos, texts, contacts. But all she'd find were gaps. Blank spaces where I used to be. Because I didn't want to haunt her. I wanted to vanish. Not like a ghost. But like a man who never belonged to her in the first place. She played with power. But I took it with me. Every piece. Every silence. Every goodbye she never got to say. And that was the difference. She was still waiting for closure. I'd already closed the door. And sealed the frame. It had been months. Enough time for the dust to settle. Enough silence for her name to stop echoing in my mind. I didn't expect to see her. I wasn't looking for it. But life has a way of placing you face to face with the ghost you've already buried. I was in line at a coffee shop. A quiet Sunday morning. Same place I'd started frequenting since the split. Not because it was special. Because it was mine. The bell above the door rang behind me. I didn't even turn. Not at first. Then I heard the voice. Soft. Cautious. Familiar in a way I no longer claimed. Hey. I turned. There she was. Hair tied back. No makeup. Not the polished version she posted online. But the real one. The version I used to wake up beside. Before she became a stranger in my own house. She looked smaller. Not physically. Just dimmed. Like someone trying to smile in a room where the lights had already been turned off. She stepped closer, hesitant. You look good. I nodded. Polite. Neutral. Detached. I feel good. 3 words. No emotion. No invitation. She waited for something more. A crack in my expression. A hint of old warmth. But there was nothing to find. She shifted, wrapped her arms around herself. The silence between us was thick, but not tense. Just final. I've been working on myself, she offered. I said nothing. Because growth after destruction isn't admirable. It's expected. You probably hate me, she added, almost like a question. I met her eyes. Steady. Calm. No. I just don't care anymore. She flinched. Not because it was cruel, but because it was true. She glanced at my coffee. You still drink it black? Always did. She nodded. Eyes flickered with something I couldn't name, maybe nostalgia, maybe grief. But it wasn't mine to hold. I stepped forward to grab my order. She took a small step to the side, like instinct. Like she still remembered how I moved. But I wasn't walking with her anymore. Just past her. At the door, I paused. Not for her. For the moment. Then I turned my head slightly. One last time. You once said I'd get intimacy when you felt like it. Her lips parted, maybe to respond. Maybe to apologize. I didn't wait. I didn't care. I stepped out into the sun. Took a sip. And left her standing there. watching everything she used to control disappear in the morning light. That was the last time I saw her. No dramatic exit. No lingering glances. Just a chapter closed in silence. She wanted power. She played games. But in the end, she taught me how to walk away. And I finally did. Fully. Without hate. Without regret. Only clarity. They always think they'll be the ones to leave first. That they're the ones with the choices. The power. The upper hand. And maybe for a while, she was. She had the passwords, the tone, the silence, the edge. But here's the thing about control. It only works until someone stops needing approval. She thought I was staying out of comfort. Out of fear. Out of habit. She was wrong. I stayed as long as I did because I believed in us. Because I believed people made mistakes and marriages had seasons. But I wasn't blind. I saw the slow shift. The apathy. The quiet disdain she wore like perfume. I saw the way she gave pieces of herself to strangers, while rationing crumbs of affection at home. And for a long time, I swallowed it. Told myself it would pass. That love was patience. That loyalty meant holding on. But now I know the truth. Loyalty doesn't mean bleeding for someone who's holding the knife. She had the illusion of being wanted, of being mysterious, of being above consequence. And I let her have it, long enough to build my way out, with calm hands and clear eyes, because I didn't want revenge. I wanted release. And when I got it, when I finally shut the doors she always assumed would stay open, I didn't just take back my time. I took back my narrative. There's something terrifying to someone like her about indifference. She was ready for a fight, ready for tears, ready for drama. But what she got was silence. She was prepared to be the victim of my anger. But I gave her nothing to survive on. No closure. No answers. No reaction. Just the truth. I'm gone. And there's no version of this story where I come back. I rebuilt my life from the ground up. Not around another woman. Not around spite. Around myself. New goals. New discipline. New standards. And I kept every lesson she gave me. Not as bitterness, but as blueprint. Because now I know what to look for. What to walk away from. What never to become again. She had control. She used it. She abused it. And she lost everything trying to prove she didn't need me. But I had the ending. And in the end, that's all that matters. Not the lies. Not the Tinder bio. Not the excuses. Just the door closing. And never opening again. So if you're listening to this, and you've ever been in my place, know this. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to beg to be valued. And you don't have to burn the bridge. Just walk. Calmly. Quietly. And never look back. Let them sit in the silence they created. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge is peace. Been through it? When they crossed a line and you made sure they felt it.